Well, it's December 17th. We're just a week out now from Christmas Eve, and we're carrying on with our Jesse Tree Advent devotions. Our Advent devotion, or our Jesse Tree picture today, was drawn for us by Ethan. And Ethan drew for us here a tower. I believe his inspiration was the Eiffel Tower. A very nice tower here drawn for us by Ethan, nice and tall. And look at that, I love it. It's even got a cross up at the top of it. Very cool, Ethan. Great job drawing a tower for us. We have a tower as our picture today because we're talking about a couple more prophets. Yesterday we talked about a prophet named, so you can see what I'm doing here, prophet named Elijah. Well, and today we have two more prophets. We have Habakkuk and we have Micah. And at first, a tower might not seem to have much to do with these guys. But the prophets were these ones who were watching for the coming Savior and trying to get people to pay attention to the fact that he was coming. And so it's like they were up on the tower waiting to see what God was going to do when that Savior was going to come. They were up on the watchtower, watching out for the coming Savior. So that's why our picture today is of a tower, and Ethan did a great job drawing a nice tall tower for us. That's great. So the devotion booklet encourages you to read some verses from Micah, actually, from that prophet, Micah chapter 5, verses 2 to 5, which are the verses where you'll hear Micah prophesy and tell everyone that it's going to be in Bethlehem. That's where Jesus, the Savior, is going to be born. So that's an important prophecy, obviously. But I'll commend that reading to you, and I certainly encourage you to do it. But we're going to read here from Habakkuk chapter 2. Now, Habakkuk's not a book that we read from very much, but it kind of captures this idea of watching for the Savior and watching for what God's going to say and what it means that Jesus is our Savior. So let's read here from Habakkuk chapter 2, starting with verse 1. I will take my stand at my watchpost, says Habakkuk, and station myself on the tower. There we go. And look out to see what he, that's God, will say to me, and what I will answer concerning my complaint. Now, Habakkuk had been complaining to God, which, believe it or not, is okay. Sometimes we fall into this idea of thinking that we're not supposed to complain to God. We're allowed to complain to God. God says that's okay. And Habakkuk is complaining about something very specific. He's complaining about he's asking God, why do the evil people prosper? Why did things go good for evil people? That's his question. He's complaining to God about that. In particular, he's wondering about this nation called Babylon that's threatening Judah, the part of Israel where Habakkuk lives, around Jerusalem. Babylon has come and has surrounded them and destroyed, and has started to destroy them. And they're evil, Habakkuk says. They don't worship the Lord. They don't follow his commandments. None of those things. So he says, why do you let these people get away with this stuff? Well, the reason is because Judah and Israel had fallen into pretty awful sin themselves, and this was the consequence of their sin. But God's got a promise here that he's going to speak to Habakkuk. So let's keep reading a little further. So Habakkuk says, and the Lord answered me. And this is what the Lord said. He said to Habakkuk, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so that he may run who reads it. So he tells him to write it out and write it out on tablets, not like an iPad or something like that, but some big sign or something like that. He wants it so plain, so big, that a person who's running down the street could read it. It's basically he's telling him, make a billboard. That's what he says. God says, I'm going to give you a message. Put it on a billboard. For still the vision awaits its appointed time. Something's coming, he says. The Savior's not here yet. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. It's true. It's going to happen. If it seems slow, wait for it. It's coming. It will surely come. It will not delay. And here's the message. This is what God tells Habakkuk to write on the tablets, the big sign, so that everyone can read it. Behold, his soul is puffed up. Babylon, evil people like that. It is not upright within him, but the righteous shall live by his faith. So this message gets brought up in the New Testament then. The righteous shall live by faith in Jesus and his death and his resurrection. And already here in the Old Testament, God's pointing Habakkuk and all his people forward to that promise, that Savior who's going to come, who's going to die, and who's going to rise again, and who's going to make everything right. So while Habakkuk sits there wondering why evil seems to always win, why things are the way they are for God's people, God reiterates his promise. The Savior is coming. He will surely come. And when he does, the righteous ones will be the ones who have faith in him. And so when we have complaints, when we wonder about what God's doing in the world, God says the same thing to us. The righteous will live by faith in Jesus. And so that hope from the prophet Habakkuk gets us ready to celebrate the birth of our Savior.